What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video on the channel. Inside of today's video, we're going to do how to counter the best 15 brawlers inside of a meta. So I really love doing this series because it can help you guys improve in your general draft knowledge and just in terms of the meta. It helps you get better as a player. If you know these interactions, I'm telling you, your ranked gameplay will definitely go up through learning this. So I want to give a big shout out to Semantic. He gave quite a few suggestions to this and definitely helped me fill in the blanks on certain brawlers like Finks, etc., who are pretty hard to know absolutely who to counter. So I'll leave a link to his channel in the description. All right, starting off with Mina, probably the best brawler inside of a game. It's very hard to counter a Mina. So with Mina, there's like a few brawlers that can counter her. I think one way of countering her is like the pull mechanic. So you think of her Buster Shield, that's one of the hardest things to counter about her. So brawlers like Jean and Grey can actually hook her inside of her gadget. So just a cool fact, that's kind of like a soft counter to her. It can be very annoying if you're like playing Mina in Knockout or Bounty. You've got brawlers like Kaze, so just go in a brawler like Kaze. I know Kaze is one of the best brawlers in the game, but Kaze is just good at just being super aggressive on Mina, just gets more consistent damage output, so it can be better than 1 vs 1. I really like Buster into a Mina personally, because with Buster you're kind of promoting the gameplay of grouping up, and then once Mina kind of overextends, you can probably pull Mina towards you. It's not like the greatest counter out there. It's hard to counter Mina, guys. And then I went with Tara as well. So to be honest, there isn't really a lot that completely hard counters Mina, but these are some brawlers that I like going. Next, Meeple is the top 2 brawler inside of the game, and Meeple in a way is pretty easy to counter, but Meeple's still Meeple, will be very annoying. So there's a clear weakness with Meeple, right? It's the slow reload speed and the single shot targeting. So you guessed it, one way and the limited range actually. So one way is by purely outranging Meeple. So whether it be knockout, bounty, try and go with the snipers, but of course he can kind of like bridge the gap with his box gadget. But if you have a brawler like Brock, who can consistently open up the map, and you keep your distance against the Meeple, then you can win against Meeple, basically, is what I'm saying. Next, we got Ash. So Ash is a good counter to Meeple because you've got the rats and you've got the tankiness. So Meeple will really struggle to deal with a great Ash player. There's just no way Meeple can really do anything into that. Pets are going to be very annoying for Meeple, so whether that be Charlie spiders, whether that be Tara pets, whether that be like a Nita bear, Meeple will literally get put into spawn in a pure 1 vs 1 against those type of brawlers. And then I went with Ruffs because Ruffs has got the sandbags, and with Ruffs you can open up the map. Well, if you're opening up the map against a Meeple, you're destroying Meeple's gimmick. Meeple's gimmick is to shoot through walls. Well, if there's no walls to shoot through, there's no value out of the super, and Meeple can get outranged because of very limited range. So Ruffs is like the perfect counter. Next up, we're looking to counter Juju, and Juju has quickly rose to the top of the meta, and I feel like I've got a good understanding of what counters her. Even though she's a thrower that can counter tanks, it can sometimes get a little bit confusing. So first off, the one brawler absolutely you use to counter Juju with is Brock. So you can't really go Brock in like hot zone to counter Juju. I mean, maybe it's a late pick, but in knockout bounty, just pick Brock. Just break open as much grass as possible, and Juju can't abuse her long shot mechanic. That means she's very limited in range, and she's also, when you're breaking open grass, you're also stopping her from going invisible. So it like double counters her, if that makes sense. So yeah, great counter to Juju, always has been. Next up, like assassins, particularly like Kenji's always been very annoying for Juju. Just rewind back when Kenji was meta with the hypercharge, Kenji would just destroy Juju. But the reason why Kenji's good into Juju, you've got the star power that can help, tanker shot, you've got the gadget that can tank a lot, and just overall, you know, Kenji can get on top of Juju pretty quickly. Of course, if Juju's got hypercharge, it changes, right? But most of the time, Kenji should be able to deal with a Juju easily. And then I went with like maybe some other throwers slash wall breaks as well. You know, Barley's good in a 1 vs 1 versus Juju. You know, Berry can be as well. So there are counters out there. The next brawler we're looking to counter is Kaze. So I feel like you guys should know the counters to Kaze by now. She's been a very meta brawler ever since her release, but let's just go through them again. So first we've got Finks. So the reason why Finks counters Kaze is because of his star power. The star power that limits your reload speed. If you're limiting Kaze's reload speed, then you're limiting the ability to Kaze to dash around. Obviously her mobility comes through her main attack, through the reload, so she's going to be dashing around less, be more predictable, and Finks can stop Kaze just wreaking havoc with that star power alone. And next up, we've got Crow. So Crow's a fantastic counter to Kaze because of the poison. You think of what counters invisibility brawlers, it's always poison because it reveals their position, and that's no exception to Kaze. Every pro drafts Crow into a Kaze. It's just a no-brainer, and you know, Crow's quite tanky as well. You can tank the ninja super with his gadget, his shield gadget, so for that reason, absolutely a Crow. And then lastly went with Tara, so maybe a little less Tara now that she got nerfed, but you want a brawler that at least feeds a really strong super. That, you know, Kaze, say if you're Kaze, you don't really want to follow Tara around, right? Because even if you can kill Tara, you just feed in a hypercharge and a super, and it makes no sense. So yeah, great counters to Kaze. The next brawler we're looking to counter is Ruffs. So even though Ruffs is one of the best brawlers in the game, he always is, I wouldn't say easy to counter, but there's some obvious counters out there, right? So the first one to me is going to be Squeak. Squeak is always a fantastic counter to Ruffs because you can 2 or 3 shot, or most time it's 3 shot a Ruffs, and you've got this sort of similar kind of range. Squeak's just always countered Ruffs because Squeak counters those squishy brawlers. It's hard to explain in a way, but it's just really easy for Squeak. No matter what, all the pros do draft Squeak into a Ruffs. Next, Alli. So again, this is just the biggest no-brainer matchup ever. You just destroy Ruffs in a 1 versus 1. He just can't, even with the unload speed buff. I mean, a smart Ruffs can maybe time his super right and maybe get a quick kill on Alli. But it's just free pressure. Like I'm telling you, Alli is the biggest counter, especially on a map with a bunch of grass. You can just put Ruffs into spawn the entire game. It's just hilarious how hard Alli counters a Ruffs. And then finally, I went with throwers because mainly you think of like Sprout, Tick, etc. Ruffs is pretty squishy, so throwers normally like 3 shot a Ruffs for the most part. But I think Ruffs is a pretty solid brawler overall, so it's actually pretty hard to counter him in this meta. Next up, we're looking to counter Hank. So Hank, he's a beefy boy, but there are some counters to him. I think you can get a lot of value as a Hank into pretty much everything, right? But the biggest counter by far, like I always say, is Dynamite. And sometimes I'm like, why does Dynamite actually counter Hank this much? I just think it's because Dynamite can stun a Hank, and yeah, it can stun Hank. And then because the reason why Hank's good is because of his star power, he can gain that extra movement speed, and he can be toxic that way. Well, Dynamite just finds it really easy to hit Hank. Bigger hitbox, he can destroy Hank with a gadget and a super pretty easily. Yeah, it's like impossible as a Hank to face the Dynamite. Next up, we've got Draco. So Draco's a good counter to a Hank because you've got a lot of survivability with Draco. You've got a lot of super farming from against a Hank. So yeah, Draco's always been a good counter. And then the next two might be a little bit surprising, but I see the pros go a lot of these brawlers into Hank. First one, Sam. Sam is a great counter to a Hank. The reason being is because of his survivability with his star power, but also his gadget, his pool gadget. If you're a good Sam, you can time it correctly and interrupt Hank's bubble. That's going to leave Hank very vulnerable, and yeah, all the pros draft Sam into a Hank. You see it quite often. And then the same goes for BB as well. BB is a fantastic counter to Hank because you're constantly recharging your knockback. Well, Hank hates it when his bubble is interrupted, so BB is drafted, I won't say all the time, but I would say like gem grab, hot zone. I have seen a few teams draft the BB into Hank, and it's just a pretty much unwinnable matchup for Hank. The next brawler we're looking to counter is Max. So I feel like down the years you should be able to contain a Max a little bit by now because the same counters are prevalent right now. First one being a Crow. So Crow is, yeah, definitely the best counter to Max. I was kind of second question myself there, but Crow still is a counter. Even if most players don't use the slow gadget anymore, Crow's just really, it's made attacks so easy to hit against a Max, so you can just constantly chip a Max down, whilst also, I think, outranging Max, or at least being pretty similar. So Crow's always been a great counter. Gus is next, so I go for brawlers that have like a big hitbox in terms of a main attack, and Gus is one of those brawlers. So yeah, a good Max can still win that interaction, but I think most time it's safe going Gus into Max because in a pure 1 versus 1, you can, your best chance of hitting one of the best mobility brawlers in the game is by picking the biggest projectile in the game. So Gus's shot makes sense there. And then finally, I went with Melody. So it might sound like a weird one, but Max doesn't exactly have the damage to keep up with a Melody. And I've seen a few times, it doesn't happen all the time, but a few pros draft a Melody mid versus a Max mid in gem grab, which yeah, it just goes to show that the pros like Melody into Max. I think just with the dashing around, like again, if Melody can get a good super onto Max, Max can't do anything about that really. Melody will just take down Max easily. These are the best counters. Moving on to Crow. The best way to counter Crow is through a max. I'm only kidding, guys. Imagine if both brawlers could counter each other. The first one is Lola. So Lola is a great counter to Crow just because Lola outranges a Crow, I believe. I should be right by saying that. But also you've got another pet that you have to try and shoot through. Crow can only really deal chip damage to it. I mean, Lola doesn't like crazily win that matchup every single time, but I think Lola can easily chip away at Crow better than Crow can chip at Lola, so if that makes sense. Next up, Pam. So funny enough, you might think, oh, Crow's anti-heal must be a really great counter to Pam. Well, no, because Crow can just not deal the damage at all, even close to even do anything to a Pam, especially with Hypercharge up. Like, what can Crow do? He can just sit at a distance and basically deal no damage to the Pam. Pam's always going to be healing up with the Mythic gear and on top of the Hypercharge as well. Yeah, what can Crow do? Absolutely nothing. And the last one is Charlie. So the reason why Charlie's good into Crow is because you can outrange a Crow with a Charlie, and you've got the spider pets that can help push Crow back into spawn. It's not anything like a crazy matchup, but I've been noticing down the months that Charlie's always been a good matchup into a Crow. Next up, we're looking to counter Byron. This is probably the most annoying brawler for you guys in the meta, I imagine, just because of how often he's played. So the best way to counter Byron, there are other snipers that can be good into Byron for sure, but I don't think most of these snipers are really that meta, you know, like Piper. And he can be pretty good into Byron if you've got good aim. But the first one has to be Lily. So Lily is a great counter to Byron. Yes, Byron can, you know, sometimes have his booster shots and his super to defend himself. But most of the time, if you try and even get one attack off of Byron, you're probably dead when there's a Lily teleporting onto you, hypercharging onto you, supering onto you. You know, your super 2-hit combination, you're dead. And yeah. Byron's just so squishy. He can't defend himself against that, right? Clear weaknesses against assassins. And the next brawler being Alli. Alli is an assassin and another brawler that Byron can't really deal with. Yes, Byron has the range, and you know, a good Byron can at least scout out an Alli. But yeah, pure 1 versus 1, especially when Alli's in the grass, what can Byron really do? He's too squishy, he can't deal with that. And then lastly, I went with Jean, funny enough. So Jean's a funny counter because you can kind of keep your distance against a Byron easily with Jean. But I'm talking more so like gem grab. If you're looking for a Byron counter, Jean is the guy because Byron has no way to, you know, jump away. He's not speedy, he's super squishy. So he can't tank a Jean pull. He's a very easy target for a Jean. So for that reason, I always go Jean into Byron. So talking about annoying brawlers, we also have Lily. I mean, I said the most annoying was Byron, but probably it's Lily for a lot of people, right? So Lily's annoying. The main way to counter her is by, you know, checking how long her gadget cooldown is, really trying to keep on top of that. Communication is probably key, but with your randoms you can't really communicate. So the best counter in 1 versus 1 a lot of time is RT. I know with Lily's hypercharge you can win a 1 versus 1 against RT, but I'm talking like Heist mainly because Heist is probably Lily's best game mode, so RT is a great defender against for Lily. Next up we've got Trunks. So just think of brawlers that have that circle attack like Doug or Jackie. It's really annoying for Lily to deal with because Lily likes assassins and squishy brawlers because of her combinations with quick attacks. Well, tanks don't allow her to do that, so these type of brawlers that have quick bursts and easy to hit attacks are good against Lily. And then lastly, Chester. Chester's always been a brawler that pros have gone into a Lily just because of Chester's attack combination. So for Lily, it's very dangerous to teleport onto a Chester because he might have a 3-4 shot combination, and that will pretty much one-shot a Lily instantly. So yeah, Chester's a great counter. The next brawler we're looking to counter is Alli. So Alli can be pretty frustrating to counter. I don't think a lot of people really have that many problems because I don't see people complaining about her, but in my ranked games she's pretty much banned all the time, so it's quite clear that people think that Alli's frustrating to face off against. So the first counter, I think like a soft counter, especially like gem grab or Brawl, is Nita. Main reason being is because Nita is tanky. Alli doesn't like facing off against tanky brawlers, and then you've got the bear to deal with Alli. Alli has a slow reload speed, so can't really deal with the Nita bear. Next up, so with Alli, again it's the same with Lily. You don't want to face off against brawlers that have high health. The higher the health, the harder it is for Alli. Even with super, Alli won't deal enough damage. She wants the 2-3 shot squishy brawlers, right? So Frank is a great counter because he's super tanky and just Alli can't do anything against the Frank. You've also got Kenji. Kenji's just great because of the healing. Alli just doesn't have the reload speed to keep up. Same with Ash as well. So tanky, just cannot keep up with that amount of damage. So just go tanks into Alli. The next brawler we're looking to counter is Cordelius. So Cordelius has been a little bit easier to counter since the nerf, especially in the Shadow Realm. And the first brawler is going to be Ruffs. So Ruffs is a good counter to Cordelius because you got the sandbags, you outrange Cordelius, and most of the time you can play Ruffs on a map that Cordelius is good on. So yeah, I just like Ruffs into Cord. Next up we got Sandy. So Sandy's a good counter to Cordelius because again you got a lot of stun, you can wall peek Cordelius, you can outrange, and those maps that Cordelius are good in, Sandy's normally good in gem grab and Brawl, particularly. Sandy can counter Cordelius. We've got Stu as well. Stu in the shadow round, pretty good into Cordelius. And then Ash. So Ash is good into Cord just because of the amount of damage that Cordelius needs to deal to kill an Ash. It takes a long while. And Ash can like two-shot Cordelius sometimes with the damage gear active. So yeah, Ash is pretty good at countering Cord. The next brawler we're looking to counter is Finks, and this is a really annoying brawler for me to try and counter, especially in hot zone. So that's why I asked Semantic. He said straight away Crow. So I don't know why I thought Crow was bad into Finks. Someone told me that a couple of months ago. So yeah, Crow counters Finks absolutely in my mind, because Crow's attack is just really easy to hit into a Finks. Finks is a pretty fast brawler, so it can be pretty annoying to face off against. So Crow's just good into the Finks for that reason. Then you've got Meeple as well. So Meeple's good because another meta brawler, even though like Finks sometimes can avoid like the Meeple auto aims. Meeple likes it when a brawler is in slower movement speed. Meeple's still good into Finks. And then to be honest, I can't really think of many other absolute hard counters to a Finks. Maybe you guys can let me know in the comment section below. So I've only got 2. Next up we're looking to counter Mo. So Mo is being a little annoying rat like Drage is. You just want to strangle him, right? Anyways, Mo can be pretty annoying to counter. There are a few ways. So like one way is by, if you know he's just used his super, then he's pretty vulnerable and weak. But then if you're pushing into him, you're going to feed his hyper charge. But like, you know, Kenji and tanks can be pretty annoying for Mo to deal with without his super. But first off, Ruffs is a great counter to Mo because you got like, you can outrange a Mo. You've got sandbags that can tank a little bit, so Ruffs can be annoying for the Mo. And you can expose a Mo by breaking open the map. You got Meeple as well, another meta brawler, but Meeple is a great counter into Mo because if Mo wants to super onto you, then you can switch over to your Rage Quit gadget and you can kill him pretty easily. And then lastly, a thrower. So throwers are annoying for Mo just because he's not going to be able to farm up his super from a thrower. They're just the key to countering Mo is keeping your distance most of the time and not allowing him to build up his super. So if you're just chipping him from a distance, he can't really do anything about it. I mean, of course, once Mo gets his super, he can counter throwers, but if you're playing it smart, throwers will counter Mo. And the final brawler we're looking to counter this season has to be Jaeyoung. So Jaeyoung, I think people have learned how to counter him definitely from the previous metas through my lists, but here's a couple. So Crow, absolutely. So Crow can counter Jaeyoung because you think of Jaeyoung, fast movement brawler. You want a brawler that the main attack's easy to hit against them with some decent range. Crow is one of them, and you've got the anti-heal against Jaeyoung. And if you want to be annoying, you can switch over to the slow gadget. Meg is next. So Meg's really annoying for a Jaeyoung because you think of Jaeyoung actually likes facing off against squishy brawlers because of his damage gadget. It can get like a couple of quick taps onto them. Well, Meg just never dies. So in that mid interaction, Meg can always deal with a Jaeyoung. And then finally Amber. So again, got decent range, can outrange Jaeyoung and just be pretty annoying in that mid interaction. So that's going to be it for today's video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this. So again, this is going to really further your understanding in ranked, in draft. I think this is the way that I improve the most when getting to pro rank, is by learning the matchups, learning what counters what, because then you give yourself the best chance to win the draft, especially if you're like last pick. If you know all the Brawl interactions, you will just win games through that last pick alone. So that's going to be it. I hope you guys enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you guys next time.